everyone. As you're joining, put in the chat where you're joining from. Share what school you're coming from, where you are, where you're located. We'll get started in just a couple minutes once everyone gets in.
I feel bad not matching y'all.
You're a trendsetter.
I forgot.
Green is the color of the season. Well, hi everyone. I'm Nicole from Formative. If you don't know me, I do everything in revolving around social media, community engagement, and I'm really excited to be joined here today by Lucia, Sofia, and Diana from Spring Branch ISD in Houston, Texas. I'm going to hand it over to them because there are experts today that are going to tell us about their experience with Formative, what they see from the student's perspective, and at the admin level. So, Sofia, you're going to go first.
Yeah. Want me to go ahead and get started?
Yep. Sounds good.
Perfect. It should be pretty quick. That way you're able to ask questions throughout and even afterwards. And so just a little bit about us. Lucia, do you want to start since you're the first picture?
Sure. My name is Lucia Flores. I am a math instructional or interventionist. I work at Landrum Middle School in Spring Branch ISD in Houston, Texas. And this is my 17th year in education. I'm just really excited. When we met Nicole in New Orleans during the Adhd conference, I just had to express how much we loved Formative. So that's how we all got connected. So I'm super excited and we welcome you. Thank you so much for being here today.
All right. I'm Diana Ramirez. I also am a 6th grade teacher here at Landrum Middle School in Spring Branch ISD. This is my 5th year in education, and 4 of those I've been lucky enough to work with Lucia and Sofia. So it's awesome to be able to do this with them, and I'm excited to teach out what we do.
And I am Sofia Guerrero. This is my 9th year in education. I am a math instructional specialist, so I support math teams for multiple campuses. And then we also added our Twitter handle. So if you're ever curious about what's going on in our classrooms or the classrooms that we observe, you're able to check us out there. It's not just Formative, but it can show some of the great things happening either way. So I'm going to go first, and my perspective is going to be from the lens of an instructional coach. I have the privilege of working with multiple teachers and seeing the experiences that they have and the experiences that they build for their students. So I'm going to give you just 3 things that most teachers that I work with are extremely excited that are integrated with Formative and the reasons why they use Formative the most. So from the specialist perspective, we're thinking about every single child coming from academic classes, advanced classes, newcomer classes. And so we're thinking of the lens of the whole child. And so one of the favorite reasons why some teachers use Formative is because we have a population of emergent bilinguals here in Texas for sure. And so with Formative, we're able to provide a variety types of questions or question types that allow students to use all 4 domains of language. So for example, if I'm thinking about the 4 domains, I've got reading, speaking, listening, and writing. For reading or for those content types, that's where we're giving something to students and they're able to view it. And so with the reading perspective, we're able to embed PDFs, we're able to embed pictures, videos, and then that allows students to receive the language, whether it's through reading or listening. And some of our question types, like the audio response or the short answer response, provide students the opportunity to either speak and explain and justify it with words, as well as write it out. We know with students at times, majority of the time, they're just receiving information, but Formative opens it up so that they can produce, and it doesn't challenge them with what type of production they're giving. It's not just multiple choice. They have a variety of ways to showcase their learning. A second reason is supporting our special education population, something that came out just this year, which just even with the teachers that I've shared already have been super happy about, is that they have added an ability to add the accommodation of text to speech, and it is by teachers on their own. So with formative, it's very easy to add a co-teacher. So if you have a special education teacher that comes in and supports the learning, we're able to easily add them in by using that co-teach feature. And then from there, both the general ed teacher and the co-teacher could collaborate and adding those oral administration for students so that it's specific to the teacher. And so in the formative, it kind of shows the steps. We would click the assign option. On that option, it gives us the accommodations feature, and then we can select which students receive that accommodation. And then the nice thing is once one teacher does it, any teacher that has that student, it's automatically been added for those classes as well. So the students are receiving the supports that they need. So from the lens of our EB students and from the lens of our SPED students, formative has really great integrations in supporting their learning. And then the third reason why I keep hearing teachers praise formative is because they're able to instantly view student learning. So for example, there's a lot of online platforms where students have to click the button submit before a teacher can even view results. With formative, it's live. So as soon as a student starts responding or adding work in, it's automatically updating so that on the teacher end, I'm able to see which students are already answering. So here's a little example. And what you'll notice is, for example, this third child right here, I can already see they're headed into question 4, but they're not there yet. Where some of these students might already be on question 8, I can pinpoint which students I need to approach. But I see that all of their answers are correct. So maybe they're just taking their time and answering those, where the other students over here, where it's red or yellow, I can see they're not understanding or they're partially answering that correctly. So again, I can immediately go to those children, whether it's through formative where we submit instant feedback on there or in person, I'm attacking that challenge immediately. So I'm not waiting to the end of the day where I see the results. Once students have clicked submit, teachers are able to see it live. And then on top of that, we can view it by question as well. So if I were to click on question 1, I'm able to see all of the responses for all of my students. So from the instructional specialist lens, these are 3 reasons why I hear teachers speaking great things about formative all the time. And now I'm going to transition over to Ms. Ramirez.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to be talking about how formative we use it in the lens of teaching advanced academic courses. And so there's 3 different things that I focused on. One reason that students really benefit from formative is the differentiation piece. So not only is it beneficial for teachers, but it's also a really good insight for students to know where they are. So with differentiation, formative is a good way to create pre-assessments. This will allow teachers and students to know whether they need to be in an intervention group or an extension. With intervention, that's the type of groups where you're reteaching topics. Maybe they need a little bit more scaffolded instruction. So you step in and you make those changes in that way. With extensions, you're taking the information that you've given the students and you're allowing them to apply it outside of the classroom. So that's one really good thing where students can make connections outside of the classroom, and formative allows us to do that. The one other thing that's also differentiated with formative is the feedback that you can give not only to one specific student, but if you see that a group of students is making the same mistake. For example, there's a lot of misconceptions that are in math. There's like patterns that students have misconceptions for. And so you can choose a group of students to send the same feedback to, rather than having to individually type the same message and send the same message over and over again. So I think that's beautiful. Another thing that is awesome for students is that they can extend their thinking. I know that teachers love to use slides, and I'm one of the persons that uses a lot of slides. And something that I've gotten into is kind of snipping or cropping my slides and putting them into a formative. This allows students to annotate using the pen tool. A lot of them like to use the text tool as well. And then it allows them to justify their answers. So you can ask them not only multiple choice questions, but again, you want to dig deeper into their learning so that learning is a good foundation for them and they're successful in the future. The last thing that I put on here is student voice. One thing that I advocate for a lot is that my students are the ones doing the talking, the students are the ones doing the teaching, and the ones doing the learning. I'm pretty much more of a facilitator, and Formative allows us to do this. Formative allows us to use student-led presentations. So again, I'm a math teacher, so I love for students to showcase their work and then again, re-explain it or reteach it to the classroom, what strategies they used. And then we have whole group discussions over, is there a different strategy that we can use? You know, we compare and then we gain learning from each other. Audio responses are another benefit from Formative. Not only I love this because this gives me 100% engagement that every single student in my classroom is speaking. You know, you have those kiddos in the classroom that they want to answer every single question. And so the audio response allows every single student to have a voice, whether that be a really soft voice or a really loud voice, you're getting feedback from every single kid in your classroom. So it's awesome. And I love to see how when I first start using Formative, when we use the audio response, they do tend to be a little reluctant to speaking, but by the end of the year, they're just completely taken over. And it's awesome to see how their confidence grows from that. One last thing that's super important with the student voice is that kiddos are being exposed to academic vocabulary. So we love to give them, one of the EL strategies that we use a lot is sentence stems and word banks. If students have that scaffolded information and they're able to create it their own, then again, they have that voice and they're able to create their own learning from that, which gives student autonomy. So that's what I have to say.
All right. So we're going to ride the struggle bus for a little bit. I personally have ADHD, and I didn't find that out until last year. And I have a soft spot for students who struggle because I myself struggled while I was in school. And so I will be talking about how we use or how I use Formative for intervention. So one of the things that I really like to do is scaffold for our students. And so it provides opportunities for our students to have the content really broken down for them. And then based on, you know, as you can see, I was able to change my colors. And I don't know if people or who actually use the program know all of the bells and whistles that you get with it. You can change your ranges regarding what the value of a specific grade would be. And so as you can see on that first section there, we have kids who are in blue. That means they're you know, they've got it. They completely understand it. If we have green, they're on the right track, but they might need a little bit more practice. If it's red, it's not right? And so that is such a huge visual, especially like if you are a teacher who has your own learning quirks. It's a beautiful way for us to be able to easily spot and identify the student that is struggling. And as Sophia mentioned before, it allows you the opportunity to go and check up on them and just give them that individualization, that confidence boost that they might need. That's one of the biggest things that we use here in my classroom, in my math lab, is like, hey, okay, you didn't get it right. Hey, why don't you go back and let's fix that? And one of the awesome things about it as well is if they are on the right track and they just don't know quite how to communicate that, you can give them partial credit. It doesn't have to be correct or incorrect altogether. If you want to give your students some credit and allow them the opportunity to gain some of that confidence back, I think that that's definitely one of the things that our students missed out on when they were working online for the last, year and a half, or, during COVID. Another thing that Sophia did mention earlier was accommodations, and you can accommodate using graphic organizers. As you can see in that specific questioning, that was from a unit exam, I believe. And so you can see that it has a T-chart in it, and I've used that as part of the background. So I will create things on a slide and then snip it and then insert it into the background so that the students can use that. Based on that information or based on that data, if I can see that the student is actually using it, then that is my justification when it comes time to using it for STAR or for any. I'm assuming that the majority of people that have signed on today are from Texas, but if you're not, then I don't know what the rules are for your state, but I will say for Texas, we do have to show that we have a consistent usage of particular accommodations for students. And so that helps as part of the justification for it. You can also, as Sophia mentioned earlier, embed a video or embed, heck, if you want to embed, hey, you've got this, right? If you want to tell your students, don't get frustrated, or I know that you usually think about it this way, but you might want to consider X, Y, or Z. Those are nice little notes for the students to get. And not only does it fill in their bucket, it fills in their confidence and it helps them to feel stronger about the work that they're actually doing. And okay, and then right now, so finally for justification, giving me an answer or a one-word answer is not sufficient. One of the things that we really do focus on at Landrum especially is to make sure that all students, regardless of whether they are emerging bilinguals or if they are students who have been in the States, they were born here, whatever the case may be, but we want to make sure that they really understand and show the proof of their acquisition of the English language. And so it gives us the opportunity for us to correct misconceptions or for them to be able to justify the reasoning why they did what they did or how they solved the problem. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and just like that, there's more than one way to solve a problem in math. But what we, what is important to us, or especially myself, I want to make sure that I understand what the student is thinking, because if I can see where they're going or what their reasoning is behind that, then it may be a fluke and maybe it worked out for that problem, but they might be thinking of something that is not a rule or not something that we would do normally and doesn't always apply. And so for that reason, we would have them, we want to know, I want to know what are you thinking? How did you solve that? What is it that you're doing? Can you explain it to me? Can you explain it to somebody else? And so when they're able to justify or show their work, it is something that is priceless, because you can go back and see where that child took a wrong turn and correct them, and get them straight on that learning path. Some of the things, so I did ask a question today for some 7th graders that I interviewed. And I asked them, how do you like using formative for your work? Some of them said, I like it. I like doing my work on formative better. Another student said, I like it because I get to learn more. Another student said, I like it because I can type and show my work. Another student said, it's easier to do my work. Another one said, I like it and it helps and you don't stress that much. So I think that having the students being able to see, okay, and it really does depend on the teacher, because it's what you provide for them, right? The more supports that you give them, the better off that they will be. Is it time consuming? It can be, but it doesn't have to be. As long as you can snip something and save it and then just add it to your the background, as long as you're using those tools in class already, then it should not be that big of a deal to add that to whether it's a test or, you know, just trying to figure out where the student is and how much they know. It really is not that difficult. So that's where I'm at right now.
Just to add on to what Lucia was saying, and then we can move to questions, it's that little reminder that for our students, they are living in the digital area. So for them, it's not scary. It might seem scary to us because we might not have grown with it, but it also provides that in-time response so that we're able to intervene and extend our students' learning faster than if we weren't using it. And now it's question time.
So feel free to write in your questions. I've answered a few already, but this one I want to read out because it's not a question for me, it's a question for you all. So this is from John. Is formative teacher friendly to create assessments, or does it take time to learn the features or to create an assessment? By the way, you're talking to 3 champions who have made hundreds of formatives here, but think about the beginning, the initial stages when you all started.
Yeah. Can I say, or can I go?
Go for it. Go for it.
So before I was a math instructional specialist, I was at what our district called a TLS, Transformational Learning Specialist, a fancy way of saying I'm here to support you and how you can integrate ed tech. So I've worked with beginner teachers, experienced teachers, intermediate teachers, and what I can say about formative is that it's very easy to use because it's very instinctive. So just at the top, put my title. Oh, I see a big old blue plus sign. Let me click on that. And then from there, I have the choices. If I just hover over it, it lets me know what that choice means. If you are somebody who wants to ease their way in, you can easily upload a PDF or assignment of something you already have, and then click on the assignment and click the big old blue plus sign, and you can pick what kind of question or response you want students to be able to produce. So from having the experience of working with beginner teachers or teachers who don't feel very confident using technology at the beginning, I can say that formative is one of the platforms that is the easiest to look into and start using in the classroom. And if we make any mistakes or forget to type something in, it's live. So I can go back in and fix it right now and then. It updates for students immediately. I don't have to go find another link or make another copy to then be able to edit because students have started answering where other platforms might do that.
And that happens a lot. The kids will let you know, Miss, you messed this up. And you are very quickly just, okay, give me one moment. Thank you for letting me know. Change it. And that's the beauty of technology. And just to add on to what she was saying, we are living in a world where technology is taking over. So it's a little bit scary. Like she mentioned, it is scary to give them that type of autonomy, but the way that they're able to grow, not just as students, but as humans, being able to just take the learning, make it their own, see where they started, see where they're ending. And that growth, it lights up their faces. It's as an educator, that for me is the biggest win when I see kiddos picking up their confidence and being able to make their own learning. It's awesome to watch. It's awesome to experience.
Another note, I want to give a shout out to Formative because they're very receptive to feedback. For example, in previous years, if we did want to snip something to add, we would have to snip, save, and then click upload. They listened to us, and this school year they updated it. I could just snip, use the copy feature to paste straight in. So if there are any challenges, feel free to reach out to the support team and give that feedback. They listen and they update consistently.
And that is, it's a huge selling point, but it is a huge benefit for us as teachers. Also, let's say if you are in Texas and you're doing your t-test and you are trying to look at your data for a specific TEK, right? We have goals that we have to meet. As long as you label that TEK in the work as you're working, which by the way, they have takes from every state, right? Or not
Standards.
Standards from every state. Thank you. You can track your data regarding that particular standard. And it pretty much does it for you. And it looks at, where you were at the beginning of the year, whether or not it's progressed. And then that's great evidence to show your administrators later on.
And also I want to chime in for international users, because Formative is global, that are tuning in. You can also set your own standards based on your country or your district or your consortium as well. Deanna, were you going to say something?
Yes. Okay. Since we're on the topic about creating assessments and whatnot, so it has standards. Formative has standards for all of the states. I'm going to speak specifically on Texas. STAR is going digital, and they're going to have different question item types. So not only is it going to be multiple choice questions, it's going to be open-ended, equations. There's all different types of item questions that they're going to have, which Formative also has already. You guys have had it already since before this change happened, but it's a really great feature when you're creating your assessments.
All right, I'm gonna go to the next question because I want to be mindful of everyone's time. This is Miss Lima. Can I use Formative as a document repository with pictures of tests and assessments done? My students do not use technology, but I still might use the tool to collect data of the work being done. Any thoughts?
So actually, I was going to mention, on our campus, we do have a 1-to-1 ratio with technology to students. It doesn't always happen because sometimes parents don't either want to take the responsibility of having the computer, or they cannot pay the insurance for it. So they may say, sorry, we're not doing that. And if that's the case, or if a student forgets their computer, you can create it, print it out, and hand it to them. So suppose you have a student who is, got in trouble and isn't in your class today. Guess what? You can print it out and they can take it wherever it is that they're going. So I will speak to that. That is a benefit of it, is that you can print out and hand it over. Now, as far as the retrieval and inputting of the answers, that may not be the easiest. Sophia, do you have anything on that one?
Well, but a teacher could click on a question and then from there select students who might have responded with the same answer and put in that answer for them. But that is adding a little bit to your end versus it being produced by the students. But it is still possible, especially if you don't have the luxury of being 1-to-1, or if you're limited in the technology that can be produced. But an option could be, if you are limited in that, creating a station rotation model where one station is the students being able to input those answers. So then that takes it off your plate.
Always problem solving.
Thank you for breaking that down. This is why you all are teachers. Okay, one final question. Let me choose. Also, you can write to them on Twitter. Their handles I put in the chat, and they'll happily answer. Is it easy to organize assignments in folders and reuse them in the following year?
Folders are my life.
Definitely.
And with the folder feature, it has the sharing ability. So if I'm working in a team of 2 and I create something, I can share that folder with my teaching partner or whoever I'm collaborating with, so that then they don't have to recreate it. They could just assign to their classes and we can delegate that work. And yes, Diana, I know you wanted to add on.
Oh, no, you're good. You said what I was thinking. The folders, they're awesome. Easy
yes.
to share.
And they stay with you. The classes are what gets archived, but the assignments are in your account.
So if so previously, before I was on my meds, I was not good at labeling or putting the titles on there. So just make sure that you know what the title is, and that way it's easier for you to go back and manage. But if you're smart like Sofia and Diana, and that just comes naturally, then you won't have that problem.
It's just level of organization. You can organize by week, you can organize by unit, you can organize by month or 9 weeks or 6
By
weeks,
concept.
whatever makes you happy.
And if you're new to formative, we also have the formative library, and there are bundles there, like math bundles that other educators have already shared. So you're not starting from ground zero as well. So that's a good resource and a place to start as well. All right. So right now, following this, we're going to have a Twitter chat where you can talk more, ask questions to one another, and share about this session, what you learned. And so it'll start in about 15 minutes. So keep an eye on that. I put the directions in the chat. And I think the most important takeaways, if you're just getting started, are go to the website, create an account, look at our training modules, get involved with the community, and start there. Go through our demos, because there's a lot of resources at your fingertips, and just ask. We're a community, our team, and our champions, as you see today, and we're happy. We're here for you. And yeah, thank you for joining us today. And thank you, the three of you, for speaking and joining after your long school day.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Happy creating.